Hello, mate to Thrive Nation. It's going to be an incredible session today because I've got Sam Tejada on the show, and he's an absolute health legend. He's a firefighter, he's a paramedic, he's an author, he's a podcaster, and he's the founder of Liquivida, and which really is growing at such a rapid rate in the States. So it's really a warm welcome to have Sam on the show.
Awesome, Steve. I appreciate it, man. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome to be here. And just tell us a little bit about Liquivida. I know it's growing and we've got 48% of our audience in the US, but just give us a little bit of a brief history. We'll go into your backstory, which I think is incredible because you've managed to pivot and empower so many people along your journey as well and transform so many people's lives. But just tell us a little bit about Liquivida because I think it's a really interesting concept and a franchise. I think you got 37, is that right? Or have you grown more than that now?
Yeah, we've sold 37. We're actively selling them all throughout the United States, you know, to really hit the masses when it comes to health and wellness and allowing people to take that proactive approach to their health.
Brilliant. So just give us the ins and outs of Liquivida, what you guys do exactly, and then I'm going to give you a couple of avatars that we can discuss the details.
Yeah, so Liquivida, our mission is for people to feel good, energetic, and in control of their health. You know, so in most recent years, up until now, well, one of the things that you've seen is when it comes to medical, it's been very reactive versus proactive. So our goal as Liquivida is really giving people the tools, letting them understand all of their own health data, and taking more of that proactive, preventative approach, hoping that those steps will help them prevent some of these chronic illnesses and diseases that are out there.
Brilliant. And I know you combine that with biohacking. We had Dave Asprey on the show. We've had Ben Greenfield on the show. So we've had a lot of biohackers, but I do want to get your definition of biohacking because we're really trying to use it. I think it's a great term. Some people don't like it, but I really see it as taking accountability of your health. And, you know, really not putting accountability on the doctor or any clinic, on Liquivida, on SteveStavs, on Dr. SteveStavs' practice. It's really taking accountability of your own health. But let's talk about a female archetype or avatar that comes in because cognitive performance and health is really just on the agenda. You know, we get a lot of corporate presentations, workshops, talks. We do corporate programs with big banks in here in Africa and beyond. But some female comes to you and says, listen, I got brain fog. I've been on antidepressants, anti-anxieties, maybe antipsychotics, really struggling with just mental performance, memory, and just really battling mentally. They come into your clinic. And so how do you start the process with that type of frame? Because I know that's a very common frame that we've seen. And I'm not saying traditional medicine doesn't have its role, it does, but I think there is a different medical way now, talking about a preventative, proactive, and personal process, which I think is part of a journey that I think people need to change to. But how do you address that sort of avatar, that archetype of someone coming into Liquivida?
So in traditional medicine, when you look at the allopathic world of medicine, the average rate that someone's going to spend with their medical provider, who's that health coach, right? The person who's going to make you well, is about 5 to 7 minutes. Sure. 5 to 7 minutes, you're not getting much of anything. You're barely understanding the day-to-day life that your patient lives, right? So for us, when someone comes in through the door, it's all about us understanding that individual. Now, one of the things that you asked, where you said biohacking, you know, that term is being utilized in so many different ways. And I understand how some people might not like the term biohacking because you're getting sometimes a bit of snake oil in the mix. And how I always say is like, there's always one bad apple in a bunch. So, you know, that's where people have to do the research. They have to follow people that are utilizing evidence-based medicine to integrate into this biohacking world, if you will. So for us, biohacking means the ability to hack one's own biology, right? Being able to hack into your biology and understand what your body truly needs. We don't want to just supplement to supplement, right? We want to supplement based off of what your body personalized need. And that's what we call precision medicine. So for us, you know, you come in through the door, the first thing we're doing before we're actually telling you about any supplements or any kind of programs or modalities that we offer is, how do you live your day-to-day life? What do you do for a living? Are you a police officer? Are you a firefighter? Are you getting exposed to chemicals? Do you have sleep deprivation, right? Are you socially drinking? Are you drinking every day, right? What type of toxins are you getting exposed to? You know, where do you live? Are you next to the airport? Are you living by a big trash field that's out there? What is it that you potentially are exposing yourself through? What kind of job do you have? How much stress do you have? You know, do you have kids? Are you divorced? Are you going through a divorce? All of these factors, go into play when it comes to hacking into your biology in your own body of how it's functioning. So then from there, the next step is us running people through a tremendous amount of diagnostics. You know, when it comes to traditional medicine or allopathic medicine, you're usually not going through any kind of diagnostics until you're symptomatic. How many of us know friends, family, that all of a sudden they're symptomatic and then they get the results back and they say, hey, you have stage 3 or stage 4 cancer? Well, my question always is, well, what happened to stage 1? What happened to stage 2? And what happened to stage 3? Right? Disease hides very, very well without you even feeling that you have the disease. So for us, it's come in and get the diagnostics before you're sick so we could go ahead and trend it and keep a close eye on your overall health so we can avoid you from actually getting some of these type of chronic illnesses that will develop. So what does that consist of? Is we do a body composition analysis. So the body composition analysis, we utilize a technology called a DEXA scan. DEXA scan allows us to see what your body's made up of.
Sorry, Sam, I'm going to interrupt you there because I just want you to put it in the frame of mental ill health and someone coming in with like lack of performance. So why is the DEXA important there? Obviously, you're doing these testing, the biohacking you've explained, but just give us a little bit of a nuance in terms of mental health and performance and the different tests. Of course, there's individualized, you want to look at their life, I understand that, but specifically from a mental health perspective, just help us sort of tailor it a little there.
So yeah, from a mental health perspective is, everything feeds into how the body will react, even when it comes to mental health, right? So if you're lacking in certain areas of your body chemically, right, and your body's not producing the right, nutrients that it needs, it's not being fed the right nutrients, well, then all of these different tests are going to define, well, what is lacking and what could be causing the anxiety, the depression, whatever it is. So these diagnostics, it gives us that bird's eye view of what's happening with the individual's health. So, the DEXA, we're looking at overall body composition analysis, looking at, visceral fat versus adipose fat, looking at lean mass, right? And those things are important because the next thing that we're doing is we're looking at your metabolic health. How is your metabolic health performing when we do the resting metabolic rate, right? Are you burning calories? Is your body, is it, burning as it should? So with mental health, mental health is more of a mindset part. That's where we start off when it comes to mental health. And, we're big into mind, body, spirit. All of those play a huge effect into our overall treatment. But for us, it's multiple facets that feed into one. It's not just, one component. But, to stay on the topic of mental health, our goal is, number one is you got to tap into the mindset, because we don't do any of our services, modalities, any of our programs if your mind's not right. If your mind's not right, it's going to be impossible to go through any of the different programs that we have.
Brilliant. So looking at something like DEXA, the applicable part of it is if you've got too much visceral fat, that's going to have an impact on your mental health and your mental performance. And then looking at certain minerals that you often find that are significantly problematic through all your diagnostic tests. Obviously, you're running blood, you're doing blood's amino acids, you're doing probably essential fatty acids, looking at omega-3s, but give us some specifics where you sort of see some changes in those specific tests. And obviously, you've got a range. We've got the same range. I've been doing functional medicine 18 years now. But I'd love to hear, because you've got 37 locations, what you see coming out of, people with, and not only mental health issues, people just say, I'm not as sharp as I used to be, I'm getting tired in board meetings, I'm making mistakes, memories getting affected. So maybe give us some type of, just standard, often sort of results that you see with people that are really struggling with mental performance as well.
Yeah, so I wouldn't classify myself as a mental health expert, but one thing that I will say is when it comes to feeling fatigue or let's say mental clarity, that goes more into not necessarily mental health. It's going to go more into cognitive health, which I'm a huge advocate of that, especially for myself, making sure that I can speak clearly, think clearly, hear clearly, and there's a lot of different nutrients that benefit for cognitive health. So some of the things that we're doing for cognitive health are the NAD plus, right? We also use the NR, which is the precursor to NAD, to open up the pathways to allow NAD to do its job. We utilize also another product that's called Synapsins. It's a nasal spray. So the Synapsins nasal spray has methyl B12, which is the methylated version of B12. It has RG3, which is the most potent extract of ginseng. And then it also has the NR, which is the precursor to NAD that I just mentioned. So the Synapsins nasal spray, tell you a little story behind that. Our former chief medical officer who passed away, Dr. Robert Willix, he was world renowned. He was my mentor since I was 19 years old. I'm 37. So I've been in the industry of functional medicine for almost 2 decades. Dr. Willix was a former heart surgeon who decided to leave heart surgery to prevent people from actually going onto the operating table. He studied as a shaman, and he was really big into functional medicine. And one of the things that I saw when I was working with Dr. Willix, he was writing all of these top CEOs around the world this prescription for the Synapsin nasal spray. I had no clue what this was back then. And I said, hey, doc, what is this? I know these patients that you're writing the prescription for, and I know they're not sick. What is this supplement that you're giving them? He said, well, if I tell you, you're going to have to start taking it. I said, well, I know who these top CEOs globally that you're writing this prescription for is. So yeah, I want it. So he starts breaking it down to me. And I've been taking this. Dr. Willits unfortunately passed away at the age of 80, right before COVID, so about a handful of years ago. And I started taking this nasal spray, and no lie, from the day that I've started taking it, I do it every single morning since, my whole life it's in high definition. I hear better, see better, speak better, and I'm just sharp as a tack. And I actually, a lot of my success, a lot of my creativity, I blame it on this nasal spray. I give the credits to it. And it's unbelievable. There's a scientist behind it, pharmacist. There's that owns a patent behind it. There's a lot of compounding pharmacies that try to make it, but nobody makes it as good as a pharmacy that I get it for myself, which is called PD Labs out of Texas, out of Dallas, Texas. And so that's one of the things that we do for mental clarity, for mental focus. And we have several other things also that we do as well.
But now, Sam, is that based on all your diagnostic tests if someone's like got low NAD, or do you just give that pretty much standard? I know that you send a lot of testing to Germany. I've listened to your podcast, and we'll put links to Healthy Point of View, and you've written a book, Brilliant, How to Win Modern Wellness and that. But so tell us a little bit about that diagnostic testing. It seems very, very specific that you send off to Germany.
So we do a few different tests. We do a lot of specialty tests is what we call it. So, people are used to the blood work that you go to like your general practitioner, they're checking your cholesterol, blood sugar. We do that, but we do a lot of these specialized testing that you can't get at your typical Quest Diagnostics or LabCorp. So one of the tests that we do, which is big for mental health and clarity, is our micronutrients test. Now that's done locally here in the United States. So the micronutrients tests for different vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. These are essential vitamins, minerals, amino acids that your body needs for it to function. So when we see any kind of deficiencies there, we can customize a certain plan with oral supplementation, and then sometimes even some intravenous nutrients for you to be able to supplement those and be within the optimal ranges, which is going to help for mental clarity. It's going to help to boost up the immune system. It's going to help boost up your energy throughout the day. Not your typical energy that most of these energy drinks that you get at the gas station promote. That's chemically induced energy. This is a whole different type of energy. This is a good sense of liveliness where you just feel good. Now, the test that you referenced, the one in Germany, that's a bit different. Which, yes, the results from that test can definitely identify certain things that can be causing mental fog. and also potentially any kind of chronic illnesses or diseases you have as well too. Now, the test that we do out of Germany is called the IGL test. The IGL test, actually what it does, it tests for over 900 different environmental toxins that you could have gotten exposed to. Not just exposed to, but also the data shows that people are able to actually carry toxins within their body that's given to the fetus through the birth canal. So basically, when you hear about, oh, it's genetics, it could be a toxin that's been in your body since birth. So what it does is it looks at these 900 different toxins, but most importantly, it looks at the DNA adduct, which is the toxin, and what gene it's actually attached to, causing a potential gene expression change. So the test also gives you additional data to look at how the overall health is. So it also tests from the cellular level mitochondrial potential. So historically, we've only been able to really test the mitochondrial health doing like a VO2 max. Now we can do it through the cellular level, right? It's validated through this test, the IGL test, where we can see mitochondrial clumping, we can see mitochondrial potential. And what we end up doing, once we figure out the toxins that are attached to these different genes causing a potential gene expression change, which hence can develop into disease formation, what we do is then we put the patients through a detoxification protocol, which consists of phosphatidylcholine, right? That's what we're using for what we call a lipid membrane exchange therapy. And then we also put them through a different procedure that's called EBO2. It's similar to ozone, but it's going through different filters, light therapy, et cetera. So once we put them through a series of that, we retest with the IGL test. And one thing that we'll see is we'll see the toxins eliminated, number one. And then number two, we'll see mitochondrial potential increase, right? And then most importantly, we see that the patient is actually getting better. Signs and symptoms start to decrease, reverse starts to go in the opposite direction. So it's something that is changing the course of medicine, what we're doing.
Okay, so these tests are they available on your website? I never saw the name IGL. And then the mineral test that you do. I know that you had, was it Dr. Christopher Davis, talk about amino acids. I do want to get into that because that was a very interesting, conversation. We do a lot of amino acid testing. We've seen major changes in the amino acid profiles, people taking way too much collagen and getting proline and hydroxyproline and glycine in, at the expense of arginine, at the expense of lysine. And so sometimes a good thing that's done too long can cause an imbalance. But where are the ins and outs of the tests? Is this a blood draw that people can do in the US? Or if my clients or patients we've got all over the world, do they send a blood sample? How can we make that sort of happen for my community?
Yeah, so it is a blood test. It's a couple vials that gets overnighted to Germany. Usually 1 or 2 days is the the shipping of the specimens. And results come back, give or take about 3 weeks later. So it does take a while to get the results back, but it's a blood sample that's done. And then from there, depending on the results, then the testing we do here in the US. So it's the testing, we collect the specimens here, and then the procedures are done here in the US.
Okay, so in terms of you seeing a lot of toxicity, and once the toxicity is being dealt with, are you seeing a major change in mental health and performance? Because I think it's one of the biggest gaps there. I had Stephanie Seneff on the show talk about glyphosate and talk about the toxins that have been, introduced into the world. I think there's like 50,000 new toxins in the last 80 years. What are happening to your patients and clients that are going through, say, an EBO2, and maybe just describe your detox process? Because I think that's one of the biggest gaps out there that's not getting addressed.
Yeah, okay. So one of the things is enhancing the detox pathways of your body. When you look at the metabolic pathways and your own body's chemistry of how things are supposed to recycle and how things are supposed to detox, all of the crap that we get exposed through, all of these toxins are going to hinder that detox pathway inside of your body. So part of that is enhancing the detoxification process of your body. So First step that we start off with is the simple step that everybody can afford, is eating right. Making sure that you're eating the appropriate foods that don't have more of those toxins that you're going to feed into your body. And then make sure that you're enhancing the detoxification process. So eating things that are high on antioxidants, a lot of berries, anything that ends with berries usually has strong antioxidants. Vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin C is a potent antioxidant, and then also glutathione. Glutathione is the mother of all antioxidants. Part of the detoxification protocol that we do, the number one thing that we will tell you that is going to help your body detox is the infrared sauna. So we actually put patients on the infrared sauna before we actually do the test, because it helps actually release some of those toxins so we can see what's sitting in the fat cells in the bone when we actually do the test. We want it to be freely available in the blood so we actually know that it's there. So the infrared sauna is something we recommend for people to do every single day. Then, depending what the toxins are, there's different protocols to help detoxify those specific toxins. If we're talking about heavy metals, there's certain chelating agents that are going to help detoxify those heavy metals. Depending what heavy metal it is, there's certain protocols that are going to help release those toxins that are sitting in the intestinal tract. Like, I'll give you an example. Let's say it's mercury toxicity. Mercury toxicity, first we're going to start off with a test to figure out if it's organic or inorganic mercury. Dr. Christopher Shades with Quicksilver has a wonderful test for that. Then once we actually figure out that part with the mercury, we're going to want to detoxify the body from that mercury. So the first thing is we want to make it into a free radical before we put the chelating agent. So glutathione is a very important part of that. Sauna is a very important part of that. Doing a candida cleanse is a very important part of that to allow that mercury to release from sitting in the intestines and the fat cells. And then from there, we use like a DMSO, DMPS, or like a calcium disodium EDTA, depending on what's going to be best after doing some labs on the patient, looking at kidney function and everything else.
Sure. Brilliant. Pretty comprehensive. Well done to you. Things like binders, zeolite, bentonite clay, anything like that, spirulina, do you use of those, activated charcoal for your patients or clients?
Yeah, well, it depends. Every patient's a little bit different. We use a mixture of a variety of different substances. Activated charcoal is great. Has a lot of health benefits to it as well too. And then different amino acid fragments that we're using for the detoxification protocols, also to enhance mitochondrial function. We have certain peptides that we use throughout our protocols. One that I use personally is called SS31. It's a fantastic peptide to enhance mitochondrial health. We've seen some tremendous results with a lot of our patients that have been struggling with autoimmune issues related to these toxins that are in their body.
Brilliant. So peptides you've mentioned. You think everybody should be doing infrared sauna every day? I mean, it's our number one biohack, and we work with a company called Sauna Space out of the US. But tell us about infrared sauna, because people don't often sort of want to understand or want to believe how important this is. We're just not getting enough red light, never mind the detoxification that you get from it. But give us your view.
Everyone, every day. It's a must. It should be part of your daily routine. If you can afford to have an infrared sauna, and they have smaller ones that are they look like little tents that you wrap yourself into. You don't have to get too into one of these crazy sophisticated ones. If you can afford it, fantastic. Now you got companies that are actually going into your home and creating your home into a biohacking home, where literally the construction companies come, and your bathroom will have a built-in infrared sauna. Beautiful if you could afford it, but if not, these are things that you do want to implement. The infrared sauna is going to be the number one biohack when it comes to detoxification. There's nothing out there that works as good as the infrared sauna. The data showing it, the testing that we're doing shows it. The improvement and the testimonials that we've gained from our clients, it's there.
Brilliant. And what about going into the sun and just getting a good sweat? The sun's, I think, about 48% red light and infrared. Is that something that you recommend people to do to get, because I don't think we're sweating enough. And I think the detoxification process happens a lot through sweating. And if you think how much more we used to sweat, and because we've become so indoors, Sam, What do you think about sun and sweating in the sun?
I think if you have the time and the availability and you can fit it into your schedule, use Mother Nature. A lot of the tools that we're trying to tap into are readily available. They're actually free, right? Going outside, taking your shoes off, connecting to the frequency of the earth, getting good, connecting to that magnetic frequency of the earth, being able to do grounding, that helps the detoxification process as well too. When you're grounding and getting that magnetic field into your cells, it also allows your cells to actually absorb a lot of these important nutrients that help with the detoxification process. If you can actually get first sunlight in the morning, right, where you're getting some of that blue light and red light, from the sun, there's nothing better than that. Go out there, open up your eyes. I guarantee you're going to get a stronger boost of energy than having a cup of coffee by doing that. Me personally, I wake up to that sun. I like to have the windows open, and I don't wake up to an alarm clock. I use an Oura ring. I manage my sleep data very closely, but I naturally wake up to the light. So those things there, huge benefits from it. If people can implement it into their schedule, I highly recommend it.
Brilliant. So some other sort of tips. I mean, you've said peptides, you've said the synapsin. We're going to get the links. I'll connect with your staff and talk about that, which is very, very important. Infrared sauna from a detoxification perspective. And I think it does help with mental performance, actually getting red lights on your head. But anything else that you can just let our audience know that you think is crucial for mental performance and health?
So for mental clarity, mental focus, mental health, I use another product that's made by Novos. In that product is NMN. It's part of your biochemistry. Being able to enhance that also helps through that process as well too. And then the other thing that I use is an MCT oil. It's a specialized MCT oil that Dave Asprey came up with. It's the brain octane oil that's made by Bulletproof. I do that first thing in the morning, a tablespoon of that. And that also just, you feel it. If you're one of these individuals that's in tune to the body, you do these few things that I'm mentioning here, you're going to be sharp as a tack. You're going to have a certain energy mindset that no one's going to be able to stop you.
Brilliant. Things like HBOT, hyperbaric, or cold plunges, or anything else there that you think would be really, really important?
Yeah, all of those are good. Obviously, these are things that have to be managed properly. You got to have a good coach to guide you through the process, especially if you're doing things with a hard shell hyperbaric chamber. There's certain protocols that work well together. So like the hyperbaric chamber, doing some glutathione, during or pre going through the hyperbaric chamber, you'll actually get better absorption. It'll help stronger with that detoxification process. Some of the other things like cold plunge. A lot of people have these memberships where they go to these facilities. For me, that would be a bit difficult because I'm always on the go. But if you can have a cold plunge at your house and do some thermal regulation, that actually even helps, depending on where you live, helps regulate levels of temperature in your body throughout the day. So like, for example, we're getting to the end of summer months here. We're already going into fall, but throughout the summer months, one of the things that I would coach a lot is putting your body through that thermal regulation procedures like a cold plunge, so you can better regulate your temperature throughout the day when you're in these hot weather months. But there's plenty of benefits, additional benefits to doing cold plunge as well too.
Brilliant. From a meditative perspective, I'm not sure if you use tech, if you use things like BrainTap, or you use the Sensate or the Apollo, or anything that you found from a biohacking perspective. Because I mean, you've been in the game 20 years. I love the fact I do want to talk about coaching, because people, I don't think, realize the value of coaching, someone that can really walk the journey with you. You can't do it alone. And I think that's fundamentally important. But meditation, maybe you want to give us your views, what's really, really worked for yourself and your clients?
Yeah, so Dr. Joe Dispenza goes very deep into talking about how you can really control and even heal your body through the power of the mind, right? Your mind, especially if you're an entrepreneur like myself, it's always going. Even when I'm sleeping, my mind's probably going too much, right? So you want to get it into that delta wave. And most people don't have the ability to learn how to do proper meditation on their own. So guided meditation is one thing that I recommend. Dr. Patrick Porter, PhD, who's behind BrainTap, wonderful technology. I utilize it myself. I have the headsets with the light therapy as well too. I use that every single day, and they have multiple different things, episodes and things that you can listen to depending on what you're trying to tap into, life-wise, goal-wise, spiritually wise. It's all there on the BrainTap app. I highly recommend that. It's for people that are going to try it for the first time. It might give you depending which one you do, when you start hearing the multiple voices and stuff, it might drive you a little crazy. It might be too much. I've had some people that they put the whole headset on and they have to rip it off because it's so much for them. It's too much. So there's different levels, but it's something that really allows you to tap into the power of the mind. And I tell everyone, if you just do it, if you just try it, I guarantee you that you're going to be living a better life, period. It's the same way how, sometimes I talk to people that are not spiritual or religious, and I tell them, listen, if you just go to church and actually live a life how they're telling you to live based out of the Bible, the one thing I can guarantee you is that you're not going to live a worse life. You're going to be living a better life. It's going to feed into your life in some kind of positive way, just if you do what they tell you to do. And that's one of the things with BrainTap. If you just do it, I guarantee you that things are just going to be better.
Brilliant. Let's talk about RV. Someone's, listening out there and they've got an opportunity to go to an RV bar or clinic. What type of RV should they look at if they really want to boost mental performance? And it's not a silver bullet, but just, someone's listening out there and he wants to try something. We've done NAD for many, many years, and glutathione and a lot of these others, phosphatidylcholine. But you've got the experience now, Sam. Tell us about your protocol. Is it 4 drips once a week, or is it hydrogen peroxide drips, or what do you do for mental performance?
So we have a variety of IV drips that are available. We're actually on the pharmacy side, and we service over 4,000 medical practitioners throughout the nation with all of their IV products. The IV therapy, it's not one of those things like and there's clinics out there that do this, but one of the things that I put a lot of emphasis on is it's not one of those things where you walk in and you're picking it off of like a smoothie menu, right? This is something that should be really personalized to the individual's health, meaning going through these diagnostics that we offer, looking at what exactly your body's deficient in or what it needs specifically. And then from there, best select which IV drip is going to be best for them. So if we're talking about mental fog and clarity, depending on what the root cause is, we do have certain nutrients that are going to help with that. Glutathione, we were talking about that earlier. It's the master antioxidant. That is something that works very well intravenously to help the detoxification process. NAD is also a fantastic one where you can go into more aggressive, higher dosages, doing the intravenous IV drip of the NAD. Myself, I don't do the IV. I just don't have the time, the 4 hours to sit to do it. So I do the subcutaneous injections of NAD 2 to 3 times a week. And then there's a variety of other IV drips, the typical Myers cocktail, which most clinics have like the enhanced version of that have higher dosages of vitamin C and then other different type of nutrients, like some amino acids that make it more into like that aggressive Myers cocktail. Those for the most part are readily available, and they're clinically safe for the regular person to do it without blood work. And that you're going to get better mental clarity, mental focus, certain nutrients that are going to help boost up and regulate serotonin and dopamine levels in the body. So those are good IV drips that you can do kind of just on the fly. But my recommendation is always do IV drips that are personalized to your health and based off of what you actually need on those diagnostics that you get done.
Brilliant. So I think we've pretty much covered mental health and how important it is. Just another avatar that I want to speak about, because I've heard it on your show, and that is sexual issues and sexual pathology and sexual dysfunction, both male and female. Maybe you can just run through some things. I know that you've interviewed quite a lot of people with regards to, this area that I think is growing. And obviously, it's the micro vessels, once again, the vasculature to the brain and the vasculature to the genital organs that has a huge impact with regards to sexual health. And let's take testosterone out of the question. I mean, that could take us down a big rabbit hole. But what specific hacks or IVs, or do you have any protocols, sound waves that you use? Because I'm sure with your vast experience, people have said, hey, Sam, you've helped me with this, or you've helped me with that, or you've helped me with this. What specifics from a sexual health perspective, especially erectile dysfunction?
Yeah, so when it comes to sexual health, we have two things that we could talk about with the males, right? You have sex drive, which is your libido, and then you have the actual erection part, which you have a lot of guys that have erectile dysfunction, which is more of a blood flow issue. So to start off with the libido side, that's something that's more mental, right? It's the thought of sex, it's your sex drive, it's thinking about how we were when we were 18 years old, right? Where we were thinking about it all the time. So that's usually hormone related, the libido side. So that's, testosterone, estrogen, DHEA, all that good stuff. And then when it comes to erectile dysfunction, that's more of a blood flow issue. So with the erectile dysfunction, most of us are very well versed with the blue pill, right? The Viagra, and then also you got the Cialis, which what that does, it works on the cardiovascular system, increasing blood flow, so it can get to the penile tissue, and you can have intimate sexual intercourse. Now, there's a peptide that was actually approved for female sexual hypodesire, which is called PT141, which is also utilized for males, which also increases blood flow to the penile tissue. But the unique part of this peptide is that it doesn't work on the cardiovascular system. It actually works on the central nervous system. So some of the benefits of utilizing the peptide is that you don't get those crazy side effects that you sometimes get from using something like the Cialis or the Viagra. So utilizing those, you'll sometimes get serious indigestion, heartburn. You'll get a severe headache sometimes from the increase of blood flow. If you're taking certain nitrates, you're not allowed to take that because you can have a rapid decrease in blood pressure. So the PT141, based off of us treating our patients, we've seen that has worked a heck of a lot better, and the side effects are a lot less. Now, that still doesn't fix what the root cause of that erectile dysfunction is, right? So the root cause of it is a blood flow issue. So we have to figure out what's causing that blood flow issue. Is it some kind of a vascular issue throughout their body, right? Do they have some kind of plaque and calcium buildup somewhere in their body? Is it some kind of disease like type 2 diabetes that's causing it? So we do another procedure that's called low frequency shockwave therapy. And we use a brand that's called Gainswave. Mark White, he's behind that product and that technology. And what that does, it basically causes a small traumatic injury to the penile tissue, enhancing new vessels to develop and increasing blood flow. It helps break up a lot of that calcium and plaque buildup in the penile tissue to allow the blood flow to actually flow smoothly the way it should. Now, we do that in conjunction with other protocols to make it work very well. So we utilize the Kaplan penis pump, where you have to actually pump sometimes 2 to 3 times a day throughout the series of doing your shockwave therapy sessions. Alongside with that, there's certain supplements that we do to help increase that blood flow. Nitric oxide is one of them that we do. We use a product called Neo 40 that we put the patients on. And then obviously we have certain supplementations like the PT141 to make sure that they're sexually active. And then when we do that low frequency shockwave therapy, we also do an additional procedure, which is called a P-shot, where we utilize your own blood. We extract the blood from your vein, and we put it into a specialized centrifuge that spins at a certain RPMs. Well, we could get the plasma that's full of platelets, which have all of those growth factors to help regenerate those new vessels, new tissue, get better girth, all of that good stuff. Now, we do that. If you want to take it a step above, we use stem cell derived products like exosomes, where we'll actually mix that with the PRP. And then if you do that one, I mean, you're in for a treat. Doing the P shot with the exosomes, the shock wave, doing the whole protocol, not cheap, but if you do it, even if you don't have erectile dysfunction, if you do it, I guarantee you that you're going to perform better. You're probably going to have more girth, and it'll probably increase the size of your penile organ as well too.
Sure, extensive, and we've been doing PRP shots now for 14 years, but mainly for joints and that. So really good to see that it's becoming a bit more mainstream in the US with regards to sexual dysfunction. Gainswave link, I'll get there. Penis pump links, I'll get there as well from you guys and put it in the show notes. But obviously, are you seeing a significant increase in sort of sexual dysfunction, both in male and female, Sam, in your clinics?
Yeah, both males and females. For the females, we have a whole different set of protocols. We do the low frequency shockwave therapy. That one's called FemiWave. Same owner of Gainswave put a whole protocol together for that. And we do the O shot for the females. So instead of the P shot, we're actually injecting the clitoris with the exosomes and the PRP as well.
Brilliant. Okay, cool. Let's just end on the show with health coaching, because I think that's just a place that, we've done a lot of executive programs. Everybody gets a health coach for 3 to 4 months in our programs. Just help people put in those thoughts, those habits, change the mindset, let the habits become lifestyle. Once it's entrenched, it's much easier to sustain their transformation. But give us your overall view. Do you use health coaches? Do you have a accreditation or certification process? Because I think everybody needs someone, to help them along their journey. They've got blind spots and they've got scotomas. They miss things. And a health coach, I think, is probably the biggest gap with regards to the health team that's around you. And I'm not, disregarding in the importance of specialists and board certified practitioners and medical doctors, but I think a health coach is integral to the whole process.
Absolutely. So, Steve, I don't know about you, but myself, and I'll say this for the listeners and the viewers. If you Google me, I'm labeled, and I didn't give myself this label, I'm labeled as a health and wellness expert. All right. Even myself as a health and wellness expert has a health coach. Right. And I live by this. Every great athlete has a coach. It doesn't matter if you're the LeBron James, he has a coach. Right. It helps with accountability, number one, right? And I've been training. I used to do bodybuilding. I know everything there is into training, but I still have a personal trainer for the accountability component. So my recommendation is no matter who you are, you should have a health coach. The same way you have a coach, a business mentor for your business, you should have a coach and a mentor for your health.
Sure. And is there any sort of certification? Do you run health coaches in the franchises, or have you partnered with any organization? Because this is often a bit of a problem, is that, you've got functional medicine docs. We've got our own ratified and certified health coaches. They're apprehensive to use them. They're not sure if they're going to have alignment and with regards to their protocols and their processes. So then we just find this gap between integrative medicine specialists, or if you want to call them functional medicine docs, and the health coaches that really need to implement these lifestyle changes.
Yeah, here in the United States, every state is a little bit different on what type of licenses and certifications a person who's speaking nutrition or any of these topics needs to actually hold. My recommendation is our health coaches typically have an exercise science degree, like a bachelor's degree in exercise science and exercise physiology and whatnot. And then what we do with them, because even if they get that 4-year degree, they're not going to learn what they need for what we do, is we put them through additional training through fellowships, like with the A4M, the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. They're probably one of the largest on the globe when it comes to functional medicine. And then there's a lot of other organizations like IFM, the AMMG, that we put people through a lot of these different courses, our health coaches, so they have the best base knowledge and build up from there.
Brilliant. Okay, to close out, the future of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health, give us your sort of picture, the way you're seeing it. Just, I've never seen I've been in a physician 25 years. I've never seen health just plummet like this in all those aspects. I've never seen so many children in my practice with not only obesity, but mental health issues. And it's just, I mean, there's times I've just got to see my own counselor, my own psychologist with compassion fatigue. Because if I just think about the exponential increase in disease and chronic disease, whether it's cancer, mental health, it's really problematic. Where do you see the future? I mean, I know you're doing personalized, preventative, and proactive, health. A lot of this we do, but it's just the expense and the finances aren't there. What's exciting you for the future, and where do you see this going? Because if I just look, there's just not enough docs and not enough physicians. There's not enough businesses like yours and mine that are going to be able to meet the needs of the masses out there. Give us some type of picture of the future of health in your own sort of view.
So the one thing I'll say, Steve, is that people are sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. So that traditional general practitioner, the doctor that was grandma's doctor, that was mom's doctor, and people were with the doctor for 30 plus years, that's out of the picture, right? Us going to the doctor, spending 5 to 7 minutes to try to keep our health right, it hasn't been the answer. It's always been very reactive instead of proactive. So our goal is to bring, well care back into the system. So part of that is I see this really growing tremendously. I think people, especially the younger generations, are being more health conscientious about how they live their day-to-day lives. The health business has really exploded. I think one of the big things for us to watch out for are people that are just trying to take advantage of the health and wellness industry and just put in nonsense and garbage out there. There has to be the biggest part that we're working on, myself as the chairman of the association, where we have some of the biggest companies that are sitting on the board of the association. One of the big things that we're working with our scientific advisory board is really validating and getting strong data on a lot of these different type of procedures and modalities that are out there. So if we have strong data, it's going to be easier to penetrate further into the medical community. Because what happens now, if you don't have the strong data, if you don't have the research behind it, you got bigger governing agencies and governing boards and big pharma that will just go ahead and stop whatever you're doing. So for us, it's really producing strong data, put some serious R&D behind it. And then at least, with that type of data, we can really push this to the next level.
Okay, so a very data-centric model to try and get it out to more and more people. And do you think the cost is going to get less in terms of this sort of very proactive, preventative model? Do you see that coming down, or do you see that just increasing?
Based off what has happened in the last 5 to 8 years, prices have come down, right? If you go back 8 years ago and just look at like hormone optimization, people would have to pay $2,000 to $3,000 a month to just get on a testosterone therapy program. Today, you get on it for under $100, right? So I think the more that we get it out there, the more facilities that start manufacturing a lot of these nutrients that are out there, the intravenous ones, the topical ones, I think price will go down.
Okay. Brilliant. Last question. I know that you're an entrepreneur and that you've empowered a lot of people. Just give a message of hope out there for people in terms of just health and wellness and taking accountability and becoming a biohacker. I say to anyone, if you've taken a measurement and steps, or you've weighed yourself, or taken your blood pressure or your sugar, and then you make changes based on that data, you're a biohacker. But give us a message of hope with regards to just the future of health and performance.
So data is everything. I always tell people, trust in God, everyone else produce data, right? So tap into your health data, utilize wearables like the Oura Ring, the Whoop, the Apple Watch, and manage your data. See how your body's performing on a day-to-day basis. Utilize it to hold yourself accountable. There's even opportunities where you could do challenges with other people with similar devices, and you guys can share your data and kind of challenge each other to perform better. Mindset is huge. If you don't believe in a higher power, start believing in a higher power, regardless if you're going to be a Buddhist, if you're, Christian, if you're Jewish. if you just want to believe in the universe, whatever it is, believe in a higher power, because there is one, right? And if you believe in a higher power, you're just going to be living a better life to begin with. Mindset is everything. My team, we work on what's called a Winergy mindset. The Winergy mindset is having the winning energy. And everyone has the Winergy mindset. Some people just don't know it, and they have to tap into it. So there's different principles of how you live your life when it comes to the Winergy mindset. But again, your health is everything. Without your health, it doesn't matter how much money you have. Steve Jobs said it very well in his last book. You have to make sure you take care of your health. And your health doesn't just consist of your blood work. It consists of your mental health, of your inner wealth is what we call it, right? Your inner wealth is more important than that outer wealth that people have. So it's the most valuable currency. It's the currency that you're not going to trade for anything else. You're not going to trade your health on the stock market. So take care of it. Your health is everything.
Brilliant. Well, Sam Tejada, I want to just declare favor and blessing over you, that you would just rise into the calling that you've had. We didn't get into your backstory as a firefighter and as a paramedic, but what a change in terms of developing this business, transforming so many people's lives. And you are the transformation expert out there, just paving a way so that other people can just just develop themselves and take accountability and really change the world, because the stats are going against us. But just want to thank you for your time and just who you are. I'd love to connect to some of your connections. You've obviously spent a lot of time connecting with a lot of people, and so well done to you, and thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Steve.